Hey gang, Kevin. It's been a hot minute. I know you're all excited. What is Kevin doing for September? Um, Back to school September, guys. Guess what? Same as last year. Now, don't let that be down in the dumps for you because we all know shit's crazy, right? Who would have thought that some disease that kills 0.0011%, whatever, percent of the population has got America up in arms, and we are disrupting the way of life, right? Okay, I get it, and I've heard it from all sides, right? I've heard it from the same people that don't believe uh, that Rona is real. I hear it from other people that say Rona is the most important thing ever, right? Like if my mom or dad someday was in the nursing home and dying, and this thing was going to come along and be the flu of all flus that could kill them. Sure, do I want them to die? No, but at the same time, nursing homes are full of memories we refuse to let die. And that sounds cruel, but at the same time, it's a legitimate thing, right? We all live, we're all born, we all die. Some of us die immediately after we're born, and some of us die 120 years after we're born, right? Like okay, some of us die prematurely defending our freedoms and our privileges to be alive. Like, I say privileges because I love the idea of freedom, but those of us who have been living free for so long may actually be in a prison of a society that protests, it speaks freedom, but is not true freedom, right? Like I don't know. So within the last couple months, you haven't seen Kevin, right? As much, as often. I've been doing some inflection, some internal reviewing and learning, and actually cut down on drinking quite a bit, actually, until last couple weeks. Trying to get ready for the school year for the kids, because it's back to school September, right? Now, I'm going on a little monologue, and I know most of you love Kevin After a Few Beers monologue. But at the same time, I got hooked up with Audible. I haven't read a book since high school. I just don't have time. I work 80 hours a week to lose my shirt as a small business owner in New York State, to put food on the table for my kids, to put a roof over their head, to make sure that roof doesn't leak, to make sure that they have warm beds to sleep in. And I don't care what anybody says. Like, I think of myself as a stand-up dad. As much as the bullshit that, you know what I mean? Like, hey, listen, I've got a weird sense of humor. But regardless, I'm by far the worst dad in the world. I think of myself actually as a pretty good dad, because I try to keep my kids' minds thinking, being very intellectual, and a lot of stuff like that. And so I got hooked on Audible a couple months ago, and I love it. Audible is what I got into podcasts, and I got into Joe Rogan. I got on all these other podcasts, and I got into these people, and so I can just listen to them, even though I could view them if I wanted to. But I can listen to them as well. I can just, hey, listen, I'm at work. I got it in a headset in my ear. I can just do that instead of music, right? All the songs I'm listening to, I've heard 1,000 times. Do I need to hear them again? Yeah, maybe put myself in a good mood or whatever. But for the most part, like, maybe I'm looking for something new. So I want to listen to books. I haven't read Animal Farm since I was in high school. I still haven't technically read it again, right? I would listen to it because I got hooked on Audible. I listened to that. I did some dietary changes, like, because I was listening to some diet books that made a lot of sense. I've done a ton of stuff, and actually, for the first time ever, I finished 1984. I didn't start it in high school. I literally started last month, finished this month. What an eye-opening book, and I can see why a lot of these books have been banned from our school curriculum, because they open your mind. Books open your mind. I can't believe that more people aren't promoting Audible. I can't believe schools aren't promoting Audible. Hey, guess what? You've got a new generation of kids that can't put down their as the guy from basketball used to say, they won't put down their damn foosball and Fogelberg records and them video games to for spit. And I butchered the quote, but regardless, we can't we can't expect our kids to go through life not having critical thinking skills. And I don't know, maybe we've been weaning them away from critical thinking skills for so long that it's like my generation is the last glimmer of hope for actually people to like give a shit about their kids' education. Or maybe we're plunging right into the fact that we're awakening a lot of parents who, I don't know. I spoke to another local father tonight, and we were talking about how the school district is putting a lot of onus in the parents' hands, and if you're a parent and the school's doing it all for you, then you don't have to give a shit about your kid's education, right? You can just say, I want my kids to have a good education, and that's all you have to say, right? Like, because everybody wants that. But at the same time, how many parents are actually doing that? How many of you parents out there are actually putting in the time and effort? Oh, I spent a couple hours, one night a week. Oh, that's peanuts. It's peanuts. I mean, really, like. But then again, like, I speak to teachers and lawyers and doctors and people that I know, that psychiatrists, it's psychologists, people that are in these fields. I speak to people on a professional level, not because I'm fucking going to see a psychologist. I don't need that. I'm insane enough. I know that. I don't need a psychologist to tell me that, right? But you go to talk to any of these professionals, and they do this for a living. They know. You're seeing your kids are getting educated at an 8 to 2 or 8 to 3 class day, right? They're really learning about an hour and a half every day. But you're sending them there for 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours, 7 hours. You're sending them to school for 6, 7 hours. Really, they're just running out the clock so that you have a free babysitter. Okay. Well, let's say, and babysitting's everything, right? Like, okay, but like, why are we building babysitting into our school taxes? Like, shouldn't school taxes just be about school? So really, you're just sending your school taxes. You should be paying your kids for, like, we don't need babysitters with doctorate degrees, right? Like, if your kid's learning an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of learning every day, like, as parents, we could, like I was explaining, I could wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get the kids ready for their day, right? Be done by 6:30, 7 o'clock. Be at work at 9. Normally I go to work at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Obviously during the school season, it's closer to 8, 8:15. By the time you drop all the kids off, 8:30 at the latest. But I mean, like, okay, so I can push it back an extra half an hour. The kids are learning everything they need to be learning. And we could be, like, my kids could get 2 hours of learning out of dad every day, and I'm not a dumb individual. So, like, there's a lot of individuals out there that might not be able to do what I do, and I take I take a good glance at that. I'm not trying to be an asshole and say that, like, I'm smarter than everybody else. I'm just saying that I have the fortitude that I could do that. You might as well, and there's a lot of people out there that can do that. But at the same time, there's parents out there that can't, and yada yada. So maybe they pay a private educator to handle it. But if you can teach your kids if you spend 2 hours every morning, you get up for the morning and then you spend 2 hours every morning educating your kids, and then going about your day, now it's just about the babysitter. Babysitters shouldn't cost as much as a school district. A school district trains your kids for $20,000 for a normal functioning student, and any special needs functioning students are about $30,000 to $35,000 a year. So I got 4 kids. I don't pay $80,000 a year in school taxes. I mean, over the course of my life, it probably equivalates to that, because went from the point that I was 18 and owned my first property, or started paying rent, or anybody who did that. If your school taxes are, everybody's paying school taxes from an early age to the day they die, right? Even with star exemptions, even with superstars, golden stars, silver stars, plus stars, whatever your state is offering you for a discount because you're a private homeowner and then a senior homeowner, whatever, you're paying school taxes the entirety of your life, even when you don't have children. People that don't have kids, people that kids have already gone through the system, and so but you're diversifying that payment. But at the same time, like, My kids are costing me 80 grand a year. I don't make 80 grand a year. That means, like, I owe something, right? It gets pushed forward. And now, if you took my salary and you subtracted out, like, living expenses, like, I really owe something, right? Like, and, I mean, $80,000 a year for 4 kids to go through school, I mean, that's a college degree, like, and I went to college. I know that what I learned in college wasn't anything out of the ordinary, what I didn't learn in the real world. Um, Aside from some really, like, like some complex equations that I'm never going to use, a lot of it I learned in the real world and with common sense. So, I mean, like, and then, I mean, most of college was spent drinking. But so, like, the foundation years, I mean, sure, that shit's important, right? So, like, yeah, I mean, maybe early childhood development stuff is healthy. I mean, but really, I mean, like, it's up to each and every human being to raise their own children. So, I mean, if you can't teach them the common core of what, and not to confuse that word with the indoctrinating word that is used in our school district, but if you can't raise your kids in the common core, with your common core of values and learning techniques and styles, and I mean, because essentially you are your children. I see myself in my children every day. June does too. She hates it. Believe you me. But I just can't see, if I can't teach my kids, and they're probably with the same genetics, they're learning very similar to how I would learn. They have the same problems I had when I was growing up. I watch some of, I mean, between the smiles on certain goofy things to the tantrums on other things. Like, I remember being there. I was there. That was me. I don't know why most parents can't, like, make that link between them and their child. Now you're just asking some stranger to raise your kids. So I'm not going on a tangent like this, like we need to abolish schools, but it's back to school. Now, this year, of all years, we're putting more onus on the parents to raise their kids. And a lot of parents are second guessing themselves and saying, well, they can't get a better education than at home than they can at the school district. Like, for $80,000 a year, $20,000 a year, like, my kids should be creating rocket fuel. They should understand, like, advanced chemistry by the time they're in, like, third grade. If they're only learning an hour and a half a day and we're stifling those other 5.5 to 6, 5.5, 6 hours, if we're stifling that time period, then I don't know, like, if I took off of work, I could teach the kids 7 hours a day and my kids would know a lot. Now, I get that, statistics show that you only learn 10% of what you're given in one setting, but still, like, hour and a half a day. You complete an hour and a half a day, and then you set up little, like, tasks and stuff for them to do at their run-of-the-mill babysitter, the lady down the street who doesn't have any kids, or whatever it is, like, that you're doing. I don't know. We're giving them tablets. I'm never going to own an iPad. The school district just lent one to my kid. I don't know, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't have use for an iPad. But, I mean, it really is one of those things that you just get, you can't, you take the tax dollars and you make it so that, I like the line, you teach a man to fish. But essentially, they're doing that with the tax dollars. Now, to me, it sounds like a mob racket. Listen, we're going to take care of you kids. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But, now you have to do it for us. Well, that sounds like extortion. I'm going to teach your kids. I'm going to teach your kids, but I don't know, like, hey, you can run your business. You work really hard. You run your business, and we'll offer you this. And then if you don't do it, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna pay us this money anyways. Pay my money to you anyways. Now I have to do it all myself. Like, why am I paying? I don't know. A couple people I've talked to mentioned that maybe we need to figure out restructuring our school. Maybe we do a privatization thing. Like, you get a voucher. You could use it towards public education. You could use it towards private education. At least, you know what I mean? Or what have you, because I don't think that, for-profit or non-for-profit, I think that $20,000 a year is a lot of money, and $20,000 a year is maybe the going rate. Maybe, I don't know, because maybe it's not the industry that I'm in. But at the same time, if I'm not in that industry, I should understand the value of diversifying that for lower income families, or I mean, even guys like myself that don't make 80 grand a year to support their kids' education. I mean, that I pay the school taxes. It supports them, but maybe that's just this bigger loan that I'm entitled to pay for the rest of my life because it provides the next generation with education. But maybe I should have a little say in it, whether it's me. And if I'm teaching my own damn kids, then maybe that money, that voucher should get cashed at home. And then I can use that to pay the sitter on the off hours. That would make sense. I don't know, I just went on a little bit of a rant there with you guys, like just kind of having a conversation with myself, but I mean, maybe you can see where I'm coming from. I'm not invalid on it. And before you bark down my throat on Facebook and YouTube and all these other places, maybe you reach out and message me in the comments. Maybe you send me a message on Facebook, maybe you do whatever, but maybe you get a hold of me and tell me your thoughts and concerns before I get bashed alive, because these are just my thoughts, and these are a lot of average people's thoughts. I mean, I've talked to quite a few people since the whole Rona thing happened, and this is their big concern, that they were worried about this. Something like this was going to happen with the school districts. What are you going to do when we go back to school? Not that almost any of them. There's a select few people out there that are worried about the virus itself. The rest of them are just worried about how they're going to live their lives. Like most of them understand that there's no normalcy. There's no going back to being normal. There's none of that. That there's no going back to being normal. There's just it's just like, how do they get back to their core beliefs, foundations, and everything else when a select few are losing their minds? I mean, it's what I believe. Like, listen, if I come on here spouting about a religion or something, you guys can jump down my throat. He's a goddamn Christian, or he's this total Muslim, or Pastafarian, or Judaic nut, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you can't. I'm open-minded individual, so you can tell me your thought process, but a lot of times the people that are yelling at me are usually the ones that you can't convince them otherwise, because they are so much of a zealot of their own belief system. Like, I'm willing to listen to people and hear their thoughts and kind of formulate my own based on that. And if I hear somebody else's thoughts and they make way more sense than mine, I'm an easy convert, because I'm going to go with the ones that make sense, not the ones that blindly believe. And it is what it is. I mean, whatever, it's back to school. So it's back to school September, guys. So I don't know how your all-family August was, spending time with your family and stuff like that. The kids were at Coob like almost the entire second half of the month. We did a lot of stuff with the kids. June, God, she hit every beach in western New York with the kids to try to get them out of the house, and the sun beat the hell out of them and make them less of the Kevin gene. But, back to school September. So, like, if you don't have kids, you probably aren't dealing with this as much, but if you've got nieces or nephews, please take a part. If you've got friends with kids and you don't have any kids, or any siblings that have kids, take a role out there, do your part, try to be involved in those kids' lives, because right now, apparently the state and federal government have taken a step back from to taking a participatory role in your child's life, which, I mean, I don't expect my state to take a participatory role in my child's life. They should not be participating. I'm a big no government guy. Like, I really, there's a lot of things about the government I don't like, and I'm living in this construct of nonsense. But if I have to make a choice, like, my kids should understand that the government is there to prevent, to do a few tasks, right? Like, I don't want motherfuckers breaking into my house, robbing me, killing my family, taking our stuff, going to get their next fix, right? Like, I give two shits if they worked full time jobs and they were full blown alcoholics or potheads or junkies or whatever. Like, but you go to work and you get your money and then you go do your fix. You go do your thing. You're functioning at it. And there's some people that don't. They break into your house. They steal your stuff. They kill you because they witness you witness them stealing your stuff, and then they sell your stuff and go get their next fix, and then they get caught by the police, and then but by that time you're dead. I want people not to kill my family. I want people not to steal my shit or trespass on my property without permission, and that's what I want the police department to do. I could give two shits if the neighbor is walking down the street smoking a joint. It's on the other side of the street. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Like, don't need to bother that guy. Anyways, and then I don't want my house to burn down, or if my house does catch on fire, I don't want it taken out the neighbor's house. So I want a fire department, and it doesn't even have to be government run. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of controversy on that issue. I grew up with a volunteer fire department. They had just as much of a put-down rate, a takedown rate for fires as the paid union ones. So I like whatever. Like, okay. Either way, I would like it to be handled by my community, government, community, whatever. Like, I don't want people to break into my house and kill me. I don't want fires to wipe out half my city like Miss O'Leary's cow once did. And I don't want flat level roads for commerce. That's it. And roads are a lot of work. Infrastructure is a lot of work. I tell you, being on the Common Council, man, and being part of the construction industry, I see how much infrastructure costs, like just in someone's home. So I can imagine the government's paying way more for it. Like, they should almost get out of it. Like, gas company charges you one bill, there's no bitch and there's no complaining. Like, why the fuck are we in water and sewer? New York State, you have laws that regulate that. You learn all that shit just being on the council, that stuff. So in addition to this long, drawn-ass podcast that I'm doing right now about September, back to school September, I also ask for your feedback. I want to do one-on-one seminars, maybe less drinking, and I want to kind of explain different topics that a lot of people don't know about but think there are, right? Like, they think that they're the end-all, be-all on, well, we just had a recent storm, so how was your storm? Tell me about that in the comments. Give me some interaction, people. I want, most people think they know all about trees. Most people think they know about the sewer department or water bills or how that works, or how come so many unpaid water bills, and where does that all go? What happens when somebody doesn't pay their taxes? That tax dollar should go to the city. It does go to the city. There's a lot of these different things that people don't know the ins and outs of, and I really just think that there's just not a lot of education on the subject, and being an inside source, I feel like that I have a duty to explain that to people, and I think I can. I think I could actually go through it in a very methodical way that people would actually understand it, and they could reference back to it, and I could do like a 101 class on every one of these little topics that people want to know about. City-owned property, city-owned trees, trees in general, your neighbor's tree. What are these problems that you're having? I mean, if I run out of topics, you're more than welcome to comment and ask for questions, ask for answers on questions. Because if I don't have them, I'm sure as hell going to find them. And when I usually find them, I become like an expert on the topic. Because, like, I want to fully understand stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's why I went out of my way to grab an Audible app and subscription and start, like, listening to new books. Books that I should have already read, but never did. Because it was outside of my high school curriculum, or middle school curriculum, or what have you. And how, I don't know, critical thinking is moving its way out of our normal society because we have to drop everything to make sure that everybody's at the same level. Well, if you take the average of the smartest kid and the slowest kid and you cut out the center, like, you got this one flat line of people and their education system, and more of the kids are closer to that guy, and you know what I mean? You just lowered the scale, and all of a sudden everyone is coming out with a mediocre education when they could really have an advanced education. Like, I don't know. It's a long rant for almost nothing. Because nobody apparently cares because they're just worried about their kids' safety, which children, the CDC doesn't even know what the fuck this is about. Well, you wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Don't quarantine for 14 days. Do it. You have to do it. We're going to kill your family if you don't. Oh, now we don't give a fuck anymore. But then the people on Facebook they're the ones who love to rip me into one. Oh, we're gonna continue to push the mask wearing and everything else down your throat. And the CDC has let off on it. I think you're all just getting a false sense of security. Hey, if I wear this mask, I can reduce it by 1 or 2%. If I stand 6 feet, I can reduce it by 90%. If I'm wearing the mask, I'm reducing it by 92 or 3%. But then you get the mask on, you're like, I can go within 6 feet, and then your judgment of 6 feet's fucking off. So now all of a sudden you just reduced it by 2 or 3%, thinking that you're 95% safe because you got a physical item over your face. And it ain't 1 or 2%. It's the 6 foot was supposed to be the thing. Now they're not even backing their own information. They're just editing it. Like 1984 is clicking in my head constantly. Like, oh, we're just gonna rewrite that information as if it never existed. As if it never existed. Just delete from the records department. Delete. Rant. You can tell I've been cutting down on beer because I've had 3 tonight, 4. I'm like a 12 beer a night guy, and still like straight as an arrow. 3 or 4, and I'm buzzing and ranting to you guys. So I want to wish you guys a happy back to school September, and I hope that all of our kids make it out of this healthy and intelligible, not dumbed down by society and fear. I hope that we have the strength to carry on, but I don't know. Fear-mongering will always rule the world, and I guess I'll end you guys with a Ben Franklin quote. Who was Ben? Those who sacrifice freedom for safety deserve neither. And that's a pretty accurate quote. So that's pretty spot on, because you're so afraid of everything that's around you that you just want safety instead of your own freedoms. You give up your freedom. Now you don't have the freedom. You've given up your freedom, so you don't have the right to have safety. So you're fucked. Now you're a slave to the system. The system owns you. The system that's run by people that isn't me, it isn't you, it's somebody else. Somebody else's ideas, and they can be overthrown in a second by some other group of cockheads that just want to just take over and do whatever they want to do. And I don't know, it's not right. And at the end of the day, Whitney Houston was right. Children are the future. And I hope we all remember that in the end. Because the people that we should not be selling our freedoms or their freedoms are the children, because they're the next generation. Your freedom should always remain intact. Right? Like, you got to replace your roof. Don't touch the foundation. No reason to touch the foundation. If your foundation's solid, your building will stand. If your roof is piss and water, it's going to destroy everything. So you need to shield. Do as much shielding of those foundations or the freedoms as possible from the elements. It is what it is. So you guys enjoy your September. Hope you spend time with your kids, just like All Family August. Back to school September. I hope we all survive this nonsense for the school district. And then it is what it is. Do what we have to do. We're fucking Americans. So catch you guys on the next one.